Okay, well, I'm out of my office because, well, middle of the day, it's too noisy in there, people being Israeli and stuff. And I think better out here. I'm in a park, beautiful olive trees around me, because this is Brian of London, but I'm in Israel. Okay, the British, what about British Jews, Corbyn and Tommy Robinson? I'm going to try and weave together a thesis that links all of those things and brings in identity politics, cultural Marxism. Let's see if we can pull all of that together. So, Corbyn is the leader of the UK Labour Party. He has been a massive, staunch stalwart of the so-called pro-Palestinian world for ages. We all knew that. We knew that when he was elected to the Labour Party. In fact, there's a video of me on I24 News talking about it. So he was not an unknown quantity. And he is now currently under massive, sustained attack for being accused of being an anti-Semite, and that the Labour Party is full of anti-Semites. Now, that may or may not be true. Look, I don't like the term anti-Semite. I tend to say Jew hatred. I don't like the term anti-Semite because I think it hides what the problem is. And the problem is hatred of Jews for being Jews without really sort of taking it any step further. So Corbyn, the problem is that the attacks on Corbyn are all coming from the unified voice of British Jewry. And unfortunately, British Jewry is led largely by left-leaning groups. So for the sake of argument, we're going to direct most of the rest of this video towards the Board of Deputies of British Jews. And the Board of Deputies of British Jews leans left. Now, their last head, prior to the current one, was Jonathan Arkosh. He was better than most, but on the whole, they're leaning left. The Jewish Chronicle leans left. I mean, I know this because they've attacked me by name and often not by name for my association with Tommy Robinson and with other people. They also are willfully blind, and I think at this point negligently blind, towards the threats of Islam towards Jews. They don't want to look at Islamic anti-Semitism. They only want to talk about some far-right anti-Semitism. So they go after Corbyn, and they go after Corbyn in such an unbelievably coordinated way. I mean, the sort of three British Jewish newspapers all having the same headline and the same leader, Q. But, you know, if you're going to try and bat away a charge of conspiracy, that's not how you do it. Same as Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, everybody taking down Alex Jones the same night. I mean, obviously there's conspiracy involved. They didn't all just get the same idea. So they're all going after Corbyn, and they're going after elements in Corbyn's Labour Party who I do believe hate Israel. Now, do I believe that you can hate Israel without hating Jews? Well, oftentimes no. I mean, mostly today, hatred of Israel is because Israel is Jewish. Because there are many other countries in the world, none of them get the same treatment that Israel does from these people who hate. But where does this stem from? What's the problem that was missed? The problem that was missed, and this was not just missed, but promoted by the established British Jewish community ever since, I mean, I'll put a peg in the ground and I'll say Oslo, okay? I think the real problem started in the 60s, and it started with the formation of the fake modern Palestinian identity as a Muslim Arab predominantly, but involving some Christian Arab identity. That the creation of that fake identity, which happened in the mid-60s, was really formulated by sort of about 64, 65, and the creation of the PLO. That fake identity, which has gone on to capture the hearts and minds of Europe. The Palestinianization of people in Europe. This culminated really in 1993 in the Oslo agreements, where they came from literally an invented identity to an identity that some people, including Jews and including the Board of Deputies, and you know, that's why my anger is directed at them more than at Corbyn at this stage. They accepted the notion that Palestinians deserve a state. They deserve a state. The poor Palestinian people deserve a state because of occupation, because of oppression. I mean, in 1964, according to the modern sort of thinking, there was no occupation because we hadn't taken back our homelands of Judea and Samaria or Gaza or the Golan Heights. So what occupation? Occupation at that point meant any Jew living in Israel under their own sovereignty. So in 1993 and on, when Jews accepted the idea of a national state for the Palestinians, whoever they are, that we sowed the seeds for our own internal destruction abroad. And Corbyn is just another rider on that movement. In many respects, his beliefs are no different from Linda Sarsour in their expression. They're very different in their composition. Linda Sarsour, of course, is expressing a Palestinian Muslim identity. And the whole failure of Oslo was predicated on the idea that this was a land for peace operation, that there was a land that they could swap and we could give them some land that they would call their own and they would build their own nice, peaceful Arab state and everybody would live happily. And that's never going to happen because of Islam, because the roots of this argument are Islam's honor was brutally and utterly destroyed by Jews reclaiming their sovereignty in their homeland. And that honor cannot be restored whilst there is a Jew sovereign in Israel. That cannot happen. Jews must return to being dhimmis. We must return under the sovereignty of the Arabs. That's why all of these peace plans that come out of the Saudis, for example, if you read them properly, all they're saying is, you know what, we'll just have a one state or whatever we'll call it, and once again, Muslims will have the upper hand, but don't worry, we'll look after you Jews. As your dhimmi minority, you will be protected. And that's what we reject. That's what Israeli Jews reject. We reject your notion of protection. And that's what Corbyn would like to see reinstated. Jews are minority in another Arab Muslim country that he believes won't fail. Now, the problem I have with Corbyn, and the problem I have with Jews attacking Corbyn over anti-Semitism, is that anti-Semitism, they're coming at this from a cultural Marxist identity politics angle. And they will lose because in intersectionality today, Jews are lower down than Muslims. Jews are, because of Israel, seen as colonial occupiers. We're not. We're home. We're the natives. We're the indigenous people. But in the minds of the Palestinianized people, that's Corbyn and anybody who thinks the way he does, Jews are colonial oppressors. We are not. We are the exact opposite. When you side with the Palestinians, they would be the colonial occupiers. But we booted Islam out. We reversed jihad. We reversed their colonial conquest, their attempt to impose Arabic on everyone. And we came back with our language, with our indigenous state. So the Jews of Britain who attack Corbyn from an intersectional point of view, trying to whine about old school anti-Semitism, oh, they're all anti-Semitic. And they just bat that away with, no, we're Zionist. And then Corbyn gets to write in The Guardian a piece where his positions on Israel are not very far from the British Board of Deputies of British Jews. And that is a huge problem because the Board of Deputies supports a Palestinian state. They support a two-state solution. They want Jews out of the Judea and Samaria, what they wrongly call the West Bank. So how is that different from what Corbyn wants? Well, apparently it isn't. And when you try and put that point to the wider British people who don't really understand, who don't understand jihad, who don't understand the basis on which Islam's trying to conquer Israel again, you'll lose. You'll lose and you'll make Israel less safe. Fortunately, not a lot less safe because we've still got a lot of tanks and guns and bombs and planes and we know how to use them and we will use them. And no matter what that does to your British Jewish community and how you feel in the world when we're made to look like colonial occupiers in the press, we don't care anymore. So the attack by coordinated British Jewry on Corbyn looks wrong. What does this have to do with Tommy Robinson? Well, contrary to what the British Board of Deputies of British Jews think, Tommy is not playing to Israeli or Jewish audience out of some cynical attempt to appear non-anti-Semitic. He actually isn't anti-Semitic. He's not racist either. He's not even against all Muslims. He doesn't hate all Muslims. He hates ideology. And the attack on Corbyn should be for his crappy Marxist, socialist, communist ideology. That's where you attack Corbyn. That's where he's weak. He's trying to bring in economic theories that will destroy Britain. Not just for Jews, they'll destroy Britain for everyone. He's an existential threat to all of Britain, not just Britain's Jews. And by the way, if he destroys the economy, that's when you get a real nasty far right and a real nasty neo-Nazi movement. That's how you get it, is by destroying the economy. And Nazism is really just socialism. Corbyn can be rebranded into Nazism very, very easily. And that's what would happen. And so attacking him for anti-Semitism is the wrong approach. You should be attacking him for his cultural Marxism and his socialism. That's where he's weakest. And Tommy Robinson is the antidote to all of that. He is not an identitarian. In fact, if you look what he said about generation identity, he's not really fully on board with them. Obviously, these groups around Europe are trying to work out how to defend themselves against jihad, and a revival of national identity is probably a good idea. But this isn't race-based. Nothing Tommy has ever said is race-based. He's not interested in your race. He's interested in, do you want to be and live in Britain and be British and follow British mores and learn the language and just be proud to be British above being Muslim and above being Jewish. Now, the Jewish population has always been very good at integrating because they've always found that there's very little that contradicts Judaism and British culture, because Britain is based on Judeo-Christian values and Judeo-Christian civilization, and Judeo-Christian civilization is based on Jewish values, so they fit. It's a fit. You don't have huge conflict. Islam is a different value system, different culture, different civilization. It isn't the same. And so when the British Jews attack me and attack Tommy Robinson, and then they go and take a same sort of intersectional approach to attack Corbyn, everything about them is far left, cultural Marxism, and that's what we need less of in the world. That's what gives rise to this notion of hate speech and the nonsense of banning InfoWars. You know, I don't agree with everything Alex Jones has ever said. I don't have to. The point is, he should be saying these things. Because once they take down Alex Jones, they'll take down Israeli Cool. Already, Israeli Cool is blocked on British telephone networks as being hate speech. Because once you allow the Palestinianized cultural Marxists to have any degree of control, and that's what Corbyn represents, they will take down all positive viewpoints on Israel. They'll only want to tell you that we Israelis are eating babies for breakfast and the other nonsense. And Jews in Britain have not fought this battle for the name of Israel, for our right to exist, for our right to defend ourselves. They haven't fought that battle since Oslo, because as soon as you agree to the notion of a Palestinian state, you fall into their sewer of propaganda and lies. And that's what's captured the BBC. From the BBC, it spreads to the minds of a Corbyn and all his acolytes, and that is the end of British juries. It will be the end of British Jewry, not because of Corbyn, but because of fighting Corbyn and his populism. That's it. I'm done. All right, said enough. Thanks. Bye. Oh, by the way, I'm going to be going away for a few days. I think I'm going to delete Facebook and Twitter from my phone. I think it's probably a healthy thing to do. So have a great time, everybody. Just want you to know, Israel's a beautiful place. It's pretty peaceful, pretty lovely. Come visit, and don't believe the shit you read about us in the media. Sorry for the one swear word. Bye.